The former deputy president said something quite peculiar yesterday, and this is on the next topic about the road to 2027. Listen to what he said.
Sisi hatuwezi kosana. Sisi tutaketi tutoe mtumo. So, na tunasema we'll agree. Kama ni mimi au wengine wote wataniunga mkono. Ikisemekana si mimi ni Kalonzo, sisi yote tutamunga mkono.
So I have to say that this is the first time since the impeachment that I'm hearing Rigathi Gachagua putting himself on the ballot. Kama ni mimi, I've never had that.
You haven't?
Since he left office. So what is going on?
I thought you have. I thought he had an interview with, was it NTV or KTN or I think Wero? One of the stations.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe the newspapers didn't pick it some. It seems you do read the papers more. But he has. So this is not the first time he's doing that. And of course there are discussions. Would he be a candidate if the process in terms of his impeachment has not been concluded by the courts? And as far as I'm concerned, that is subject to interpretation. You've heard my senior here tell you that as far as he's concerned, the decision of the Court of Appeal would not revert us to status quo ante. And in my perspective, yes, he would be able to run for office unless and until the matter pertaining his impeachment is conclusively decided by the highest court of the land, and that is the Supreme Court.
Yep.
If you do recall, the former Nairobi governor, Sonko, there was a tussle about his eligibility to vie as a candidate, and the matter went all the way to the Supreme Court, and that was the eventual point of decision that now he could not be a candidate to run for gubernatorial position. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, he has said, and it will be up to Kenyans to vote at the end of the day, because we are a democratic nation. We do know that we have candidates who vied 5 times, you know. We will have more candidates coming in. We have Kina Fred Matiang'i, we have Kalonzo Musyoka, we have Martha Karua. They've all declared. And it is open. It's an open race. If the Kenyan people decide they won't continue with this regime, well and good. If they decide they won't change, well and good.
Wakili, what does the law say?
Well, the short answer is, at the moment, former Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, is disbarred from running, unless the legal hit generated by the Court of Appeal ruling ends up with an application for review which succeeds. If it doesn't succeed, I see no reason why such an application will succeed. But if it doesn't succeed, then he has to hope that the substantive petition pending at the High Court would also succeed, his petition. Unless the judicial process acquits him of, or validates his concern that his impeachment was fraught with procedural improprieties, he stands impeached and therefore he's excluded from the ballot. But I understand him to be communicating something different. When he says he will be on the ballot, he does not mean that Gachagua will be on the ballot per se. He means he's capable of delivering the Mount Kenya vote. And that is a strong signal that Kenya Kwanza team should not take for granted. Because we know how Kenyan politics is organized. It's organized along ethnic lines. I don't think it is safe at this stage for the president to wish away or to forget the Mount Kenya vote. He must fight tooth and nail to regain the confidence of Mount Kenya and even to eat into that support that Mr. Gachagua is aggressively blocking from accessing.
Bad chance for that.
So as it is right now, Gachagua is promising to deny the president Mount Kenya votes and his promises to deliver it to someone else. That is what he means by saying, I'll be on the ballot.
Okay.
So as a political question, I think we cannot, that question cannot, is not enough to answer it by a legal statement that the law disbars Gachagua. Because it has heavy underlying political implications. Now, those implications, those who do politics like Mheshimiwa here, need to pay attention to them.
Okay.
Can he really deliver these votes to someone else? Or put differently, can the president withstand the effect, the political consequence of the impeachment of Mr. Gachagua. That is what Gachagua is promising. And that war is intensely political. It has nothing to do with the law.
All right, and of course, the political parties are strategizing on how to deal with the election of 2027. Rigathi Gachagua thinks that the Gen Z are of a great consequence when it comes to the next election. Everyone is trying to woo them. There are different applause that are being made. Listen to what he says.
Inyi ndio tegemeo la Kenya. Tafadhali Gen Z na muomba. Muende mchukue vitambulisho, mjiandikishe kura. The Gen Z are the ones who will sort out this country. So wacha tujiandikishe, tuchukue kura, tukue ti. Sisi hatuwezi kosana. Sisi tutaketi tutoe mtumo. So na tunasema we'll agree. Kama ni mimi au wengine wote wataniunga mkono. Ikisemekana si mimi ni Kalonzo, sisi yote tutamunga mkono. Nitazidua chama chetu cha kisiasa. Na baadaye tutafanya sherehe kubwa sana ya launch. Mtakuja? Na hiyo chama ndio yetu. Sisi hatuwezi kubali, uwezi gawa sisi. Chama, watu wanajua chama yao na candidate wao watajua.
Okay, all right. Gen Z and new party coming. Hashi.
I think that I agree with Mr. Gachagua. I'm shocked that I'm agreeing with him on this. I've not agreed much with him. I think that if the Gen Zs form a political party and find a leader, they'll win the next election. I've said that before. It's an unprecedented shift in the political economy of our country, where the conventional wisdom of politics, and I've organized this politics in a national way before, and even I am stunned at how transformational this politics has become. These young people, I think they were in a quiet before the storm. I think that all the politicians are making a huge mistake, and I think they're going to be in for a shock in 2027. This is my view, and I've been saying this for a while. Not a lot of people agree with me in the beginning, and then it happens. Every time I say something, it happens. And I'm telling you that the way the opposition is doing its thing today, they are not attracting these Gen Zs. Gen Zs are sitting somewhere, and their preferred candidate used to be Raila Odinga until he threw them into the bus. He threw himself into the dustbin of history. I'm sorry to say. So the Gen Zs.
What did you just say?
Well, there's a concept by I think it was Lenin who said that. If he would throw the Tsar into the dustbin of history, I think that there was a revolution in this country. It was stopped by the dint of guns and bullets and abductions. And I think that Mr. Odinga, who himself stood up and said that the Gen Zs told him to sit down and watch what they're going to do. They're probably going to... he said that he was going back into the government because he wanted Kenya to have a stable government, and he did not want this transformation. He wanted for us to go into a political process, and I agree with him there. I think we need to change our governments through the ballot box, unless the government becomes a tyranny. So the Gen Zs are the axis in which the political system in this country is going to revolve around in the next election. I don't believe it's going.
And you're saying they need to form their own party, or can they?
I say if they decide to form their own party. Right now, they're watching the political space to see who they want to support or who they're going to back. But if the way the things are going with the political parties, there's a conventional thing that the senator from Migori will be elected by his Luo tribesmen, come hell or high water, as an example. But come hell or high water, it was Kalenjins in Uasin Gishu who are opposing the president who was sitting. The young people don't care anymore about this ethnic blocks that this country has been under. And there is a cynicism from the political parties that say that is just a joke, that we are all going to vote as Awaria, we're all going to vote as Kikuyus, because we're going to politicize ethnicity. And that's exactly what the political class is doing. As I've said on this program before, they're going to politicize that damn thing because they don't want these young people to come into power with issues, because it will transform this country.
Right. Senator...
That's my view.
Senator, what do you make of these statements that are coming out in readiness for 2027 at a time that, of course, your party is dealing with an arrangement with the UDA party? We've seen your Secretary General saying that he does not recognize anything called broad-based government. Raila Odinga is telling him, asiwe chungu sana saa zingine. We'll listen to the bite, but what do you make of all these developments?
Today I realize that I'm very quiet because I wanted to listen more. But it's unfortunate that I'm listening to, I think, that in the dustbin that Ahmed has talked about.
I didn't mean anything bad by it, by the way.
I was listening when you're talking.
Okay, so.
Yeah, but, and a dustbin has got garbage. So maybe I'm listening to garbage. Then the reason is this. The reason is this. The reason is this. Yesterday, Sam, was Mother's Day. And if yesterday was Mother's Day, there are two women that I really celebrate. My own mother, who died in 2003. I took that time to remember so much. And one of the women that I will celebrate is Ida Odinga. Perhaps it could be historical that you remember that Ida Odinga did not finish her career. She was stopped by dictatorial governments that chose to profile her because of her husband's history and contribution, that he has fought so much for this country to the extent that his family has constantly faced a lot of problems. For you to come and say that Raila Odinga, on TV, that Raila Odinga has thrown himself into the dustbin of history, then I would just ask you one thing. Come with your profile of what you have contributed in this country and come with Odinga's profile of what you have contributed in this country, because the fight that the Gen Z had even last year, I have been in those battles. I've never seen somebody like Ahmed, or perhaps even Njeri, on the street.
I was on the street, on the record.
Being fought and being shot at, the way Odinga has gone through this. So I think that we can differ on the principle of why Odinga chose to stabilize government, but we cannot certainly take away his contribution from what is brought in this country. Never do that. Because he has done that. Number two, you have asked about Gen Zs, the Gen Z party and what is going on. I think that what I want to tell the Gen Zs is this. Every generation has got a serious responsibility to find in and out of themselves what their mission is and what they want to correct. And that is Fanon who taught us this. There's a generation that came and fought for independence. There's a generation that came and fought for human rights and stable and good governance, which is where Odinga is coming from. And a number of people like James Orengo, Martha Karua, all these people that we're seeing here fought for something. Right now where we are, we must identify as young people, what is it that we are fighting for? When I listen to Rigathi speak, I don't get what he's fighting for. I think he's fighting for himself, and he's fighting for a place for himself to thrive. He has no agenda. And I think that it is important that we as young people, and the Gen Zs particularly, must identify what is it the biggest problem that they want to fight for. And for me, that biggest problem still remains the question of economic justice. The idea that these young people can be able to get a country that they can thrive in. Yes, there are still issues of human rights that must be fought, and nobody should condone those kind of issues of human rights, because those scars are still there. Just the same way we have got some scars of colonization that are still going on in the country in terms of neo-colonization. But what is it that young people will change in this country? If you're not ideologically with young people on the economic merit and economic equality across board in this country, that they can be born in this country, work very hard to go to school, and when they come out of school, they can be able to find opportunity for economic merit and build a future for themselves. This is the ideology that they might fight for. And that ideology is not in Rigathi Gachagua, is not in the people that have been put before them. And unfortunately, it is only happening currently in a very small way in government, but I think can work better in Gen Z's movement if they find themselves an independent way of being proper in politics. Sorry?
It's also not in ODM.
ODM is not the government currently.
What?
You know, or maybe if ODM was to take over
just a moment. Let's listen to what leaders said at the funeral of Kasipul Member of Parliament, Charles Were. Watch.
Katibu wamekosea. So, mimi nataka niwaambie, kila mtu afanye kazi yake.
My brother Sifuna, please, I am a member of your party. I don't belong to any other party. I belong to ODM.
Mr. Sifuna, saa ingine hapana kwa chungu sana. We have a firm stand. We have an arrangement with Kenya Kwanza, and we put it in black and white.
Okay, so Senator,
it's politics.
What is that? Because you are not fighting over what Gen Zs are asking. It's just an ideological difference within your political party.
No, we are fighting over. Remember, there is a cooperation between ODM and the current government. And Sifuna has been very clear. Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has been very clear. I have been very clear on this TV station that this is not a coalition agreement. It's a cooperation agreement. Cooperation means there are things that we care about and we are concerned about. Among them, things like abduction and extrajudicial killing, economic merit of this country, debt management of this country, economic equality in this country, IBC and elections in this country. If you go and read, if you care to read the 10-point agenda, you will find all those issues. And that's why...
So what are you doing about it? Writing is fine, but what do you do about it?
We just delivered IBC...
No, it's not your work to deliver IBC.
What do you mean it's not our work? It is everybody's work who is in...
No, it's not. It's not your work to deliver IBC, Senator.
What do you mean it's not my work?
So what did you do to deliver IBC?
Even tomorrow...
No.
Let me just ask you. Tomorrow you will see these names coming to the National Assembly. Is it not the legislators' work to go and vet those people and then deliver it?
So you cannot claim that
it
is because of...
It is a collective responsibility, and there was an article report to this effect.
I take it that you don't have an answer. Let's listen to what Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki said in regards to, of course, once IBC comes to office, there will be by-elections in this country. I'm getting to you. There will be by-elections in this country, and he said he has a deal for the people of Mbeere North constituency.
Lakini tuko na kazi, mimi na rais. Kwa sababu vijana ni wanane na kiti ni kimoja, kiti itachukuliwa na kijana mmoja wa upande na I'm assuming we are all agreed that we will field all the 8 candidates in our party. Si namna hiyo? Si chama ya serikali? Lakini kiti ni moja, 7 hawatapata. Sasa nimekuja hapa kusema hao 7 ambao watabaki wote uniletee, nitawaweka kwa serikali.
Yeah, so there's somewhere else he speaks about IBC. So he's promising jobs for those that lose the nominations for UDA. Listen to what he says as soon as IBC is in office.
Sasa mimi nangojea IBC tangaze. Ikitangaza mimi nakuja kukaa hapa. Na sitakuja kukaa hapa ati kusema ni huyu ama ni huyu. Ni kusema can you agree? Once we agree ule candidate wetu, kabla tupige kura, hao 7 tuwe tumewasort. Njogu nile magoi mgongo. So mimi nitabebana na hao 7, nitawatafutia viti kwa serikali au sort them out. Serikali inatosha watu wote wa Kenya. Na mbele wa Kenya. Kweli si kweli? Kwa hivyo that is the assurance I want to give you.
Yeah, so he says something there in local dialect. I think he's talking about that an elephant can never fail to carry its task. So there are so many jobs in government, it appears. Wakili Mushmua.
First, allow me to give my thoughts on the Gen Z. And you know, Eddie, you don't have to understand Rigathi Gachagua. You understand Raila Odinga, that is enough. Leave some of us to understand Rigathi Gachagua. Quote unquote, I think a lot of what we are seeing in ODM is that, you know, there's a side, obviously, that is pro-government, very openly pro-government, and there's also a side that is purportedly claiming that ODM is not in government. And it is very conflicting even to their support base, because someone asked a very critical question, Sam. If you pick a Mama Mboga from Karatina and you pick a Mama Mboga from Homa Bay, how do you tell, when you put both of them side to side, how do you tell that one is in government and one is not in government? Because we've had all these conversations about, oh, if you're not in government, you will not be getting a share of the national cake, etc. And every Kenyan is a taxpayer. And I still hold the view that the government works for all in terms of delivering on its mandate. In regard to Gen Z, I tell young people that they only have two options of changing or maybe perhaps even inculcating changes in the system. You're either in the system or you run the system. Clearly, young people do not run the system because we lack resources. We lack resources in regard to time and financial muscle. And we do know how expensive Kenyan elections are. In terms of Gen Z forming a party, we do know that they were very intent on being faceless, leaderless, and being tribeless. So I do not see a point of convergence where they will be having a political party. Of course, I've seen some very young people that I'm proud of. Morara, we've seen my good friend Kasmuel. And even if we have difference of opinion, they're young people that are trying to just cut a niche for themselves. And sometimes I always ask Kenyans on Twitter to be kind to them. They're young people, they're learning the ropes. And politics is a quite crazy and terrific terrain. But I do see young people perhaps converging towards a presidential candidate that they feel that they're inclined towards. We don't know whether Raila will be on the ballot. You know, the vote is up for grabs. Perhaps it will be Rigathi Gachagua, perhaps it will be Fred Matiang'i, and the other candidates that
But back to the question of Professor Kithure Kindiki promising jobs for nomination losers, when did that happen? I thought employment is through Public Service Commission.
You know, sometimes you like to put me in a very difficult situation, because we found ourselves in a situation where Rigathi Gachagua was kicked out, Kithure Kindiki came in, and I have said before that he's a very good friend of mine. I do think that what he made was a political statement, and leaders have to be very careful in terms of how we are perceived by the public. You do recall there was a discussion even in the newspapers about an elected leader who was promising TSC application forms, or rather appointments to people in a public forum. So I think it is a question of integrity in terms of how we approach leadership. But the fact of it, or rather the truth of the matter, is that perhaps that's why we're being told if you're not in government, then you will not get a share of the national cake.
I see you're struggling to respond to that question, but sorry.
I just want to ask her, if you allow me, wasn't it the same language that Rigathi Gachagua used to do when he was the deputy president?
So it's okay?
So it doesn't.
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it is wrong for the honorable member Njeri to insulate the character that Rigathi Gachagua kept on saying in this country, that it is shares. Those who are
shares. Even the president has talked about shares.
It's a wrong way. It's a wrong way to have.
But even the president has talked about shares.
Sorry? That you ended up impeaching the deputy president.
Yes, because of that. And I can tell you that whatever
Mr.
Kindiki is saying is wrong by all means, right? Because this is the same character that we said that we don't want to see in our country, that when you're in a position of power, then you treat public office as a personal space, that you then decide who cannot get opportunity, who can get opportunity. The government must run in a way that merit. It doesn't matter where you come from. It's not tokenism that we keep on seeing that was happening with Gachagua and now also want to happen with Kindiki.
But is Eddie aware that the president has also spoken about shares? the president that now you are
let us not go back to the grounds of impeachment.
In terms of, ODM and UDA
there's a motion
arrangement.
of impeachment against any of those in office. Wakili, tell me, so when we use government opportunities, whether real or imagined, as a bargaining chip in politics, now, you can legislate as much as you want, but there are certain things you cannot get out of the political space. How do you deal with such?
Now, the starting point is that political leaders should not be driving a narrative that is seen to exclude the rest of the country. But in reality, world over, political appointments do in fact exist. Look at the Trump administration, from the press secretary, Secretary of Defense. These are people who Trump campaigned with, and he brought them into government, and that's okay. The executive, by operation of law, controls or with a lot of influence in making decisions on appointments of chairmen or parastatals in certain select public offices. That is why we see from time to time, every Friday, various CSS gazetting persons who have been nominated to serve in certain offices, and the High Court does not impeach those nominations. The conversation in the mind of the CSS that gazette some of these individuals, stricto sensu, should actually be on merit. But sometimes they consider merit and other underlying issues, political issues, yeah? So what we can say is, we urge a crucial balance. There has to be a crucial balance. We do not want to make the rest of the country feel that unless you vote for government of the day, the administration of the day, you will be excluded, because the government serves the entire republic.
Right.
Now, that's one. Two, very briefly on this, the other two issues. On these Gen Z coalitions, I think it's a good thing because it signals a shift. It will be completed in the future, but I like the fact that this shift is beginning to happen well in our time. Remember, this government was elected on the hustler narrative,
right,
which was a shift from the traditional ethnic balkanization. Now we have Gen Z movement that is also splitting that narrative into two. The hustlers and just people who are just woke. People want things done the right way. I think political actors must pay attention to those voices. Lastly, on the infighting in ODM, the question that is going unattended to is this: who is the beneficiary of ODM infighting? You may not believe it, Sam, but it's actually Kenya Kwanza administration. Because ODM, the argument that they're not in government, they're in government, has some collateral benefit for this administration because it denies Gachagua team the legitimacy of claiming that they are the only people in opposition. While it also at the same time lends support to the administration to be able to govern.
Right.
So I think it's a beautiful thing for Kenya Kwanza that ODM infighting, but you can see the Honorable Prime Minister already has signaled the need to manage it. You will see in the coming days, Senator Sifuna will tone down. Because when the party leader signals you openly in your presence that, listen, punguza dono makasiriko, do something like that. It's telling you like, listen.
Hapana kuwa chungu.
Hapana kuwa chungu. You are biting, you are hitting above your weight. And there's need to contain you. You will see Sifuna, I hope he's not contained, because if he's not contained, the debate can rage, Kenya Kwanza can govern.
All right.
Gachagua can be denied the legitimacy he needs as we go into the election.
It's very interesting because Raila Odinga said a spokesman of the party is usually the Secretary General.
Yes.
Usually. Mr. Sifuna, when Mr. Sifuna is speaking, he's speaking on behalf of the party. But then Mr. Sifuna, saa ingine hapana kuwa chungu sana. Sawa. We have a firm stand and an arrangement with Kenya Kwanza, and we put it in black and white, and we have a 10-point agenda. Hashi, many issues have been mentioned here. Please respond, including that which Professor Kindiki is promising in Mbere.
Well, you know, Tolstoy used to say that betrayal is like cutting off someone's arms. It's difficult to embrace someone without arms. Betrayal does that, and Kenyan politics is deeply steeped with this betrayal. Everything you hear from ODM is from Mr. Odinga. We set up these things before, you know, without really, you know, carrying the horse on. Mr. Odinga is playing both sides of the game. He's playing it brilliantly, brilliant politics, And he is letting sections of his political party speak. Some will speak in a certain way and some will speak in a certain way. It's a trial balloon. He's trying to see what the reactions are going to be and how that aligns with him politically. So that one is very clear for the public to see. But the ultimate question is the deputy president saying that he's going to give this people jobs shows the desperation in the Kenya Kwanza system. It shows how hard it is, nearly impossible for them to come back into this government. I was the first person to say that I'm the one who coined this one-term president on the day that he was inaugurated. I'm the one who said it. And I think that the election that is coming is probably the most important election we're going to have in this country since independence. And I think that all these politicians are all going to be in the ballot box. And I think that there's this in the Constitution that you need 50+1 to get into government. And everybody's going to try and figure out if we're going to go to a second round. So I'm just trying to figure out where the decisive political leader in this country, Mr. Odinga, is going to do. Because whatever Mr. Odinga is going to put his weight is where the election is going to be won. And that is why you can see that the government is reporting to Mr. Odinga. The Minister of Agriculture, the Finance Minister, they keep going up there to Upper Hill. Mr. Ruto doesn't have any other choice in this country as to keep Mr. Odinga in his government. There is no question. That's why the Prime Minister's position is going to come before the election. And I've said this many times before here.
So it will come through what route?
I think they're going to do that county thing, you know, the MCA thing. Then they're going to take it up like this and take it to the National Assembly and amend the Constitution because Mr. Odinga is not going to get it.
It might be defeated at the courts. Remember the case of BBI?
Yeah, it might be defeated, but it might be defeated after the fact. Just as Mr. Gachagua's issue is being defeated after, either it's going to be defeated or not defeated after the fact. But I don't want to go too much into the future, but the fact of the matter remains here that these political actors that we have in this country today, I think are not helping the public. And we hope the Gen Zs can come out in force and really transform this country and change the politics of this country so we can do away with this nonsense.
Okay, I have 4 minutes, and there's one issue that I want us to dispense with. That is with what Deputy President said to the new Cabinet Secretary of Public Service, Geoffrey Ruku. I believe it was on Saturday. Watch this.
Ile barabara ya Gigwiyali kuelekea Momenji kwenda Kerie kufika Ishara, pia Your Excellency, hao wazee wanaomba uone kama hiyo barabara itaekwa rami mwaka huu.
Rais amekubahatisha, wazee wamekubariki, alafu wewe ndio unakuja kuchochea wananchi hapa, na ile mambo bado kutendeka. Badala ya urudi Nairobi usukume rais na deputy rais na cabinet ministers wenzako ifanyike, unakuja kuchochea wananchi hapa na kuleta chuki na kuleta uchachuzi na kulalamika kama mwananchi wa kawaida.
All right, waziri asilalamike kama mwananchi wa kawaida. He didn't stop there. He also had a few more words to share here.
Hiyo mambo unaniambia hapa. Sasa wewe si mbunge tena. Wewe ni waziri. Hiyo mambo umeniambia tunaenda kusukuma na wewe.